when you're out in the street, have you ever had to really have to like, other than like had to defend yourself or use your jujitsu? Like, wow, like I just use my jujitsu to de-escalate or just do this, and it worked, and I'm glad I know jujitsu.
Yeah, I will tell you that most of it has been on the job. Some may not know I worked armed security for quite some time. I worked security for a very long time, and yeah, it's a very useful tool for that. And I've had to use it, and it almost kind of feels like a cheat code in a way,
Mhm.
because it's a very technical way to control somebody and to manipulate the body to get them where you want to. In most cases, if you're just trying to keep somebody on the ground from going crazy, it's great for it. You gotta understand, guys in law enforcement, guys in security who actually have to put hands on people, you're not only trying to stop them from doing what they're doing, but you're also trying to detain them.
Yeah.
Military, I worked infantry. I was an infantry soldier on deployment. That was my job. Again, you are trying to use that to not only control somebody, but you're also using it to detain them.
Yeah.
So it's a very important.
What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode here on the JDG podcast, Jimmy Dukes Gaming. And as you can see, we are in a remote location where I call my third home, Grind Jiu-Jitsu with Professor Justin Gonzales. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
Of course, man.
It was nice for you to come to the gym.
Yeah, man. When we first started talking about this, I was like, I wanted to do it here because I thought it would be cool.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, too long.
Well, but that's all right. But that's the best part when I always tell people, they're like, oh, no, I'm like, dude, that's the best part because when you lead up to it and then you finally get to do it, you look forward to it and then it's more fun.
Yeah, well, my whole day, I mean, other than what I did this morning, obviously, has been waiting for this.
Yeah.
And just this.
Cool, man. I appreciate that because it makes it fun because, like, I tell people, like, I've had guests who are like, man, we've been talking about this for a year. I'm on. Now we're doing it, so it's even more cool. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the time goes by pretty fast. I mean, you stop and you think about it and you're like, yeah, dude, we've been talking for a long time, but it feels like it was just a few days ago, weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's actually been longer than that.
Yeah. And then too, because when we first talked about that, in between now and then, like I've gotten to know you more, and I've been around the gym more, so it's like the conversations are a little bit better too, because we get to know a little bit more, and that's the whole like the premise of this conversation. I wanted to sit down and talk to you because, I personally started getting back into jiu-jitsu, and this time around for me, it's just kind of like I've been more like patient and understanding and wanting to learn. And then when I was like, man, I wonder if Justin would be down to talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I'm always down to talk. Always down to talk.
Yeah. And you've done other ones too. So I was like, all right, cool. So it'd be fun, man, to have it on. So I appreciate your time, man. And we're here at Grind Underground Jiu-Jitsu in El Paso, Texas. Nice facility. I know that we're going to get into some questions about a little bit of the history about the gym and yourself. And I think it's kind of cool because a lot of people know you, but they don't like get to hear different things outside of you instructing and things like that.
Yeah.
And I've always liked to have conversations with people because of that, because sometimes a lot of people might not know something and you become more relatable. Or like, oh, I didn't know that about a coach, or I didn't know about that about Jimmy. And I feel like through conversations, I feel like you learn more about yourself and other people, and then it's a conversation started with other people when you start talking about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's start off some of the questions. I know that you've been training for a minute. So why jiu-jitsu? How did you stumble upon it? How old were you? And like, why did you want to keep training?
I started my martial arts journey very late. I did some kickboxing. I had a buddy that I used to live with in California who did a lot of karate, and he wanted to get into MMA. And that's kind of the route that I wanted to start to get into. But obviously things led me here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so actually my first jiu-jitsu academy was in San Ramon, California. I was working at 24 Hour Fitness. One of their coaches and one of their competitors, one worked there, one came in and used the gym. He used the pool. So they asked me to come in and try it out because it's the route that I kind of wanted to go. And my first day there, I quit.
Yeah.
I quit. Dude, it was horrible. I was a lot bigger back then. I was like 240, 250.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, I started like 265.
You're a
Not with
big
jiu-jitsu.
ass
I was,
dude.
dude.
Because
It
you're
was
already a big
terrible.
dude now, but I can't even
Yeah.
imagine you like that big.
Yeah, it was bad. It was, I was a high school athlete, and you can eat whatever you want in high school. You get out of high school, you keep that trend. I got into auto sales for a while, and it was just constant McDonald's, more McDonald's, more
Yeah.
McDonald's, and sugar. You know what I mean? And alcohol. So it just, my weight started to go up a lot, and it was one of those things that you don't notice until you notice.
Mhm.
And by then it's already too late.
Yeah.
You step on a scale, you're like, whoa, what are these numbers?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had come down a little bit. Started eating a little bit better, cutting out a lot of the fast food, a lot of the alcohol, stuff like that, and started to cut down on weight. So I feel a little bit more confident about myself, being able to move around and do stuff. And I was like, let me get it.
Yeah.
And I got in there. I was a lot bigger than a lot of the dudes, and they put me in a group with guys who were about your size, a little bit bigger than you, blue belts, and they kicked my ass. And I thought I was going to be able to toss these guys around, no problem. And that didn't happen. So I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
Which, nowadays, I don't really get embarrassed, but then it was easy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I quit. I didn't go back.
Damn. So the first actual class, was it like a trial class, or you just went in just?
That's all it was. They gave me a gi top. I had regular shorts on, and I just went in there. I got balled up.
Damn.
Got absolutely trashed.
And then after you did that, when did you go back? Like what inspired you to be like, all right, let me give it another go?
So it was one of those things where I was trying to avoid the instructor who comes into our gym. I worked at 24 Hour Fitness at a time. It was one of the corporate gyms. So it was a huge gym. And, I was an assistant manager for memberships. I didn't work the front desk a lot, but I was at the front desk after, I'd probably say like maybe 7-8 weeks, 2 months. And boom, I look up and there he is.
He's like, come on.
I was like, damn it.
You say you're going to come back. What happened?
Yeah. So he was like, hey, man, come back to the gym. The guys had some things they wanted to work on you with. I was like, yeah, right, dude. They're probably looking for that fat guy that was talking a bunch of trash and got lifted out of here, So I did. I went back, and I'll tell you what really changed my mind about jiu-jitsu was as nice and humble as everyone who just kicked my ass was.
Mm-hmm.
Not only about it, but just in general. They're like, hey, man, welcome back.
Yes.
We hadn't seen you for a while. And I was like, this is your opportunity. This is your chance to be like, there's that dude that we beat the crap out of. He was running his mouth, and look at him now.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't put that down on me like that. So it definitely made me change my mind about how I viewed an ass whooping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it kind of made me want to get into it. Like, dude, how did you guys do what you did to me, being that size?
Yes. And
me being as, who I am, and still be able to be nice about it.
Yeah.
So that's what I want.
Yeah. The first time that, because I wrestled in high school 2 years, and I wasn't the greatest, but I wasn't the worst, right? I did okay. And then I was always watching UFC shit or whatever. And then I was like mid-20s at the time. And that UFC gym on the east side opened up.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, fuck, I want to go. So I signed up, and I was just doing the cardio kickboxing, and Jerry Sano was there doing the striking. And then Alex, I forgot his last name with an A. He was a front desk guy. And then Carlos Johnson, CJ.
Yeah.
He was doing cardio class, but he was also doing jujitsu. And I was always watching, and he's like, come on. And I would start going in there, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Even with my little wrestling that I knew, I just was like, holy shit, this is so interesting that for me, it was kind of like, oh, fuck. I got my ass kicked, and I felt like that's one thing I've learned about jujitsu. It's like you think you know something until like somebody that knows what they're doing does something to you, and you're like, and you have like, you can't do nothing about it.
And I'll tell you, it gets better, but it doesn't go away. Yeah. You're still going to have that. You know what I mean? At the level that I'm at, long as I've been training, I started in 2010, and that was one of your questions. I started in 2010 officially. When I took that class, I think it was like very early 09. And then what reattached me to jiu-jitsu was the combatives program for the Army. I went from San Ramon back to Sacramento, from Sacramento to basic training, and then we ended up doing some combatives there, which involved jiu-jitsu. And then from there, we go back to the unit after I graduated, and then you start, all over again. And that's really what started to really intrigue me about it, was the Army's combatives program. Yeah. And then I jumped into jiu-jitsu with that. But it was one of those things where I didn't think I was going to go back. I didn't think I was going to like it. And I definitely didn't think I was going to be where I'm at right now. But as far as people still getting you with things and showing you stuff new, or finding ways to show you something that's different, that still exists.
Yeah.
That still exists.
Yeah. Because like I was always, when I was at the gym, I was always the smallest guy. So big guys would always beat me up and I was always able to get away. Then one time Carlos brought Cristobal
Oh yeah.
over. And I was like, oh man, he's like my son. I could take this one, right? Oh my God.
Wrong.
Chris, at that time, I think he was a blue belt, maybe a purple, but I wasn't sure. But dude, he was fucking turning me around and I was like, what the fuck? I would just like blown away because a lot of the guys were always bigger. So that was always my excuse. Like, well, they're bigger than me. Of course, they'll beat my ass. There was no anybody my size that was an adult. There was kids there. But when Chris was there, man, it was so, I was like, holy shit. And same thing. Yeah, man. Chris, yeah, man,
Super
you just
nice
gotta do
dude.
this.
Super nice
and I'm
dude.
like, this guy just whooped my ass and telling me what to do. And
Yeah.
dude, it was like, that's what drew me toward the sport. You know what I mean? Just, it's such a welcoming sport. How you say, like, everybody's so nice. Other than, I mean, there's certain bad apples, but like
Yeah,
in
of course.
general,
Yeah.
like any gym, like we were kind of talking a little bit before when I would travel, everywhere I'd go, everybody was so welcoming. You know what I mean? Like if you walk into a basketball gym, like everybody's like trying to size you up and
Yeah.
shit like that,
Don't wanna
boxing.
pick you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
things like
100%.
that. But I've never felt that through jiu-jitsu. And I always thought it was interesting that why everybody was so goddamn nice but lethal.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't even know it. You walk into a gym, especially a gym that's got mostly no-gi stuff on it, and you have no idea who is who.
Mhm.
Here we line up by rank, and it's the most confusing thing when we have visitors that show up and they have no idea where to stand. They'll either stand at the far end, they'll stand at the very beginning. They don't know which is which. And you're kind of like, hey man, you're right here, you're
Yeah.
right there. And so you just don't know who is who.
Yeah.
And I think that's the worst part about it, because you don't know what you're going to encounter when you get on the mats and start rolling. You know what I mean? So with experience and stuff, you can kind of feel when people are starting to be either very loose as far as like very comfortable with being in bad spots. Probably like, this guy's trained a while.
Yeah.
And then sometimes those first grips, you know what I mean? You get those grips that are like super tight and like super spazzy a little bit. And they're the kind of grips that are like, I'm gripping you so you can't get out.
Yeah.
Rather than I'm gripping you to guide you somewhere.
Yeah.
So when you start to feel those, and again, you kind of got to have some experience already. When you start feeling those, you can kind of start to decipher, this guy's been training a little while. This guy's brand new like I am. We're doing the same thing.
Yeah, because I've only been training like all together, like 3 years altogether, because I was like on and off at 10th because I was traveling in and out. And then I started back over here last July. And then like, I'm not the greatest or anything, but I could tell when somebody's newer.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, calm down. It's just like more like relaxed kind of thing. But at the same time, like if somebody's bigger than me, like by all means, I'm not saying that I'm going to outpower them, but they just look at me like, how the fuck are you getting away? And I'm just like, and that comes with time, how you're saying the experience.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're mauling me, but you're not really doing anything other than mauling me, but you're not going to hurt me. You're not going to choke me. I'm getting away from everything. Yeah, you're overpowering me, but you're going to get tired.
Yeah, you're going to get tired and you're probably going to get beat. You're probably going to get beat, you know what I mean? And, we're, again, having more experience. There's certain things that we expect from the smaller grapplers to be able to get away with, to be able to do, to be able to have an advantage over. So we expect that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude.
And you don't expect that at the beginning.
Yeah. So like with all that being said, like you jumped around, you went back, and then when you started officially training in 2010, like how did it change your life as far as like did you see yourself continuing this like in the beginning, like once you were already going, like did you envision yourself being like a black belt?
No, I think the blue belt was the only rank. Not only did I feel like I absolutely 100% deserved with the time that I was putting in, not knowing what the timeline was supposed to be like. But I didn't see myself going much farther than that at all. And then as things started to kind of like form themselves into me progressing, just as an individual, and then progressing as head coach and the school owner and stuff like that, that stuff all started to fall in line.
Yeah.
It's weird how everything just kind of started lining up at very important points, because the timeline for me getting out of the Army was in 2012. And it was like a fork in the road. It was like, okay, I'm out. My original plan was to go back to California and be with my family. But, things kept me here, which is fine, which is great.
Yeah.
And then I had a choice to make. I'm like, well, do I go off to this job that I know that I want to do, that I can do, that's going to keep me, safe as far as financially and be able to have benefits and all that good stuff, or do I dive off this deep end and take the chance this way?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so that was the fork in the road, and we obviously know which way I chose.
Yeah.
And so it eventually, obviously, it worked out.
Yeah. When did you like when you got your blue belt and you were there? Because that was one thing that when I got my blue belt, I was like, God damn it! Because I read the statistics of how many people quit jujitsu after blue belt. I remember Chris and all the guys at 10th would always give me shit. But I mean, life happens and stuff like that. And I knew I wanted to loop back around to it. But when did you get in the position to where like you were coaching, and how did that come about? Where like, I want to start coaching, like.
So again, everything just kind of fell into place. So when I got my blue belt, I was actively, of course, competing. I was an active student. I was still a soldier, and I had a deployment on its way. Like very shortly after I got my blue belt, I deployed to Afghanistan, and I was already helping out with the kids program at that time as a blue belt. So I was an assistant coach at the kids program under Sean Pretat, who's now a second-degree black belt. And so he was a purple belt at the time, fourth degree purple belt, teaching kids. So I was just his assistant coach. I wasn't really doing much with the adults. I really couldn't. You know what I mean? Like, I was good athletically to be able to be where I was at. But as far as what was up here, I didn't have a lot up there. You know, I had some details to the techniques that I did, things like triangles, very basic beginner stuff. So that made me a good assistant coach. But as far as running a program, leading a program, stuff like that, there was no way at that level that I would have been able to be very successful with it.
Yeah, because like I know that there's like, even for me, like I've only been training 3 years, and I think it's like a blip, and I couldn't teach anybody like, well, what do you do this? When do you do that? It just because, and that comes with the time and the knowledge, because yeah, I can sit here and teach you like, oh, this is how you do an arm bar, this is how you do this, but I'm not setting things up and setting up traps, and that comes with time on the mat and things like that. Because when I was first training, I was always like, go, go, go. I was working out, I was running, but I would fucking lose because I wasn't like retaining or like practicing and like really like being a student of the sport. It was more like I would just show up and try to go and like use my athleticism all the time.
Yeah, and that's normally what happens. That's exactly how I started. I was lucky to have good technical guidance from Sean.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He was very good at saying, hey, dude, slow down. Hey, dude, pay attention. Hey, dude, squeeze your knees, at that level. But that was very short-lived because, within 2.5 years, I'm now running a program by myself as a brand new purple belt, with this timeline. And it's like, okay, now my mentor, the dude who was sitting here telling me not to do this, put your foot there, put your leg there, squeeze like this, is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So now, how do I learn? So between going to open mats, having people stop by the gym, seminars, asking questions, and having people be open. Some people were very open with fixing techniques, giving me pointers and things like that while I was rolling with them and or afterwards. And I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There were some that just rolled, and you'd ask them, hey, man, any holes, any gaps, any issues? No, man, you felt solid.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
Yeah.
And respectfully, that was cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I'm a purple, you're a brown, you're a black,
yeah,
you're a higher purple. A little bit of feedback would have been nice.
I think you could like this sport that I've like, I was talking about the traveling. Like, I don't think you could ever not learn enough. There's always something or tweak. Like, I do it this way. And I know one thing I love about when you instruct is like, this might not work for you, but this might work for you. And you do. And then that's the thing. Like, oh, my mind is this. And in your mind, there's like 10 options off of one thing.
It's because, guys in our position, we've taught it before. And we've taught it to all different types of body types. Mm-hmm. Ages, gender, stuff like that. And things are going to change. You have a room full of 25 people. Half of those people are probably going to have to do things a little different. You know what I mean? And that is the hardest part about being a coach.
Yeah.
Is being able to take the technique that built the way that you're built, at the age that you're at, and the capabilities that you have, to be able to transfer that to somebody who's not built like you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Who's not built like you at all. And it just takes time. It takes effort. It takes you to pay attention to that person and seeing what their capabilities are, their abilities are, and what their limitations are. Mm-hmm. If they can't do something, it doesn't mean they can't do the technique. They just can't do it the way that you do.
Yeah.
So now it's your job to get in there and start finding out, okay, what other ways can you do this?
Yeah.
A guy who's 300 pounds may not be able to invert very well. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean they can't play lasso.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they can't grab a leg. a certain way? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means they can't do it in that fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's your job to help them find a way for them to still be able to accomplish your technique.
Yeah. And I love that because I always fucking say, I got little arms, I got little legs or whatever, right? And you're like, all right, well then you just do this. You know, like, and I'm like, huh, okay. Because I've always shied away from certain things because I felt like I couldn't do them. It's like, yeah, it might be a little harder, but if you get to a certain point so you can get to this, then you could do this to get to that. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, like your triangle, if you just go a little bit this way and you push yourself in this and do that, oh, that makes sense now. And I would have never known that.
And just because you can't do a certain technique, it may be the partner you're working with compared to what your abilities are, it also doesn't mean that you shouldn't know it. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean you can't teach it. There's a lot of coaches that are on the sidelines that don't compete, but they've never competed, but they teach competitors.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they don't actually do it or they can't, for whatever reason it may be, doesn't mean they can't teach it, pass it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's also important too. So triangles may not be in your top, 5, 3, 10% of attacks, but if you have the knowledge, you could potentially help somebody else be a triangle monster.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the knowledge is something that can't be taken away. Abilities are going to change. They're going to change due to weight. They're going to change due to injuries. They're going to change due to your body changes. You get these teenagers who are studs when they're teenagers and then become adults.
Mm-hmm.
And things happen. They get a job. They go to school. Their abilities are not the same.
Yes.
My abilities as a football player in high school are not the same as a grappler as an adult.
Yeah.
There's certain things I can't do that I used to be able to do. So, but this is always going to be this, you know what I mean? And you can always build on that no matter what your physical capabilities.
Yeah. I've always found that really interesting that and you said like whatever works for your game is that you start building your game but that I like that you said that point to where just because you don't do it doesn't mean you don't know how to teach it or defend against it.
Yeah.
And that comes with it too. Like I might not do triangles, but I know how to stop a triangle if it's coming at me, kind of thing. A lot of people might like when we had that seminar with Kamoy, I was like, I've never fucking done the truck because I always felt like my legs were too short or whatever. But the way he taught it and the simplicity of it, I was like, huh, that's there and it's been there. And just because I blocked it, you know what I mean? Like this time around, I've been more like open to like listening and like it might not be part of my game, but if I know it's there, like that one of the sneaky one, like off the backside, I was like, I don't know how many times I'm in a position where I'm with a better, I'm the better person. And maybe I could do that for trying.
Yeah.
And I never tried it because I've just like, I'm not going to use that.
And this is the place to try things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? This is the place to try things. You're in a classroom setting. You're in a training setting. You're with a training partner.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you try the stuff that maybe you don't think is meant for you or works for you. And even when you try it, this is where you get to find, this is where being a student this is where your job of being a student is. Not you personally, but just students in general. Play with stuff.
Yeah.
Because you will discover things on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And those develop questions. Those questions come back to your coach, and your coach gets those, and then he answers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And coaches will learn some things.
Yeah.
Like, man, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm not, 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
I'm not 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
So those questions and those problems never occurred to me because I'm not built like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's always good to go out and just play with the stuff.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
Yeah. I like the fact that like I was like, oh shit, that's cool. And I get more excited like knowing and things and the possibilities of different positions and things like that. And like I said, now I'm a little older and I'm more like I'm taking I'm not taking it serious, but I'm more like becoming more of a student and I'm enjoying it more because I'm actually taking the time to learn it other than just to go out there and try to fucking rip somebody's head off when I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what does that get you? You know what I mean? Like you go out and you tap the whole class.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you learned something, great.
Yeah.
If you tapped the whole entire class with the submission you were trying to get better at, great.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just walked into a class, learned all this stuff, took that, threw it out, and was like, I beat everyone in class, unless you have an ego to feed,
yeah,
you didn't learn anything in
Yeah.
class. You didn't get anything out of it. So tomorrow when you come back and you do the same thing, and people get stuck on the winning factor
yeah,
rather than come in here and learn. The winning factor is out there.
yes,
The winning factor is if you want to
Yes,
compete. The winning
yes.
factor is if you have to defend yourself on the street. The winning factor is you have to protect somebody. Those are the winning factors.
Yeah.
And you have your small battles and stuff like that here. But
Yeah.
it's a learning win.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Rather than just a win.
Yeah. And that's a perfect segue kind of like to my next question that talk about in the street. Because when I was training before, it was always just no gi. And, you know, when I came over here, the one thing I do well, I've always wanted to train in the Northeast. I grew up in the Northeast of Paso. There was never a gym out here. And when you guys came out here, I was like, fuck, I can't wait to get out there because I wanted to train in the Northeast and say, yeah, I train in the Northeast because I'm from the Northeast. And you guys were doing gi, and I'm like, fuck, I never really liked gi because I've always just done no gi for 2 years.
Yeah, and wrestling.
And wrestling, right? So when I came over here, I put on a gi once, and that's when you had Joker, and then CJ took me out there, and Mariah was just murdering me. And I wore that gi once, and I never wore it again until I showed back up over here.
You put it on, you're like, ew,
dude,
gross.
But it was so interesting that that's a whole other game, and it goes back to like, when you're out in the street, have you ever had to really have to like, other than like had to defend yourself or use your jujitsu? Like, wow, like I just use my jujitsu to de-escalate or just do this, and it worked. And I'm glad I know jujitsu.
Yeah, I will tell you that most of it has been on the job. You know, some may not know I worked armed security for quite some time. I worked security for a very long time, and yeah, it's a very useful tool for that. I've had to use it, and it almost kind of feels like a cheat code in a way. Because it's a very technical way to control somebody and to, you know, manipulate the body to get them where you want to. In most cases, if you're just trying to keep somebody on the ground from going crazy, it's great for them. You gotta understand, guys in law enforcement, guys in security who actually have to put hands on people, you're not only trying to stop them from doing what they're doing, but you're also trying to detain them.
Yeah.
Military, you know, I worked infantry. I was an infantry soldier on deployment. That was my job. Again, you are trying to use that to not only control somebody, but you're also using it to detain them.
Yeah.
So it's a very important way to detain. Boxing is not going to teach you to detain. Kickboxing is not going to teach you. Muay Thai, you know, any of the striking sports, stuff like that, aren't going to teach you to detain. Even jiu-jitsu itself doesn't teach you to contain. Or to detain, excuse me. It does teach you to control somebody, but when you start getting into things where you need to take them from their back to their stomach, to apply handcuffs, stuff like that, you don't want that little extra step.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember there's been times where during class you're like, all right, and then you'll point out somebody who's law enforcement or military. He's like, this is what you do with the handcuffs. You do this, and you put. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like that makes so much sense. And like everybody's like, oh, you're training to be a badass, or people say things like for sports. And like for me, like first of all, I'm not looking for a fight. Second of all, if somebody gets a hold of me, I just want to be able to get away. Like, I'm not trying to impose my will on anybody.
No.
God forbid that I ever have to, like, get in a fight. And I'm not trying to say that I can't defend myself, but at least I have an idea of what to do if somebody's trying to hold me. And if they don't know what they're doing and I know what I'm doing, I have a good chance.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's a good chance. Like, if somebody's trying to hold me down and I see that they have a jacket on and I can grab that jacket and pull them down and choke them with their own collar.
Now that you put the PJs on.
Yeah,
now
exactly.
You know,
exactly. Yeah. Because that was one thing that was always interesting, because the gi is like, it's so much way more technical, and like I would just dive in and they're like, oh, there's my neck again. Oh, there's my collar again. Oh, there's pulling all this, and it just like, damn. When it comes to the street, like if somebody like has a coat on or something like that, and going back to the detaining, you pull their sleeve. Or you do this, and they're just thrown off because they're not used to somebody just pulling on them.
Not at all, and it's just extra knowledge. And I'll make this clear, because I know a lot of people, you know, have talked to me about gi, no gi, what's better, what's worse. It's not, for me personally, it's a preference to roll more no gi.
Mm-hmm.
I love no gi. I love training no gi. I love rolling no gi. I love no gi more than I love gi. But I will never set aside the gi because it's got knowledge.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It has knowledge on some things that some people have kind of steered away from. And basically nobody out on the street has, you know, stuff like that. It's natural for us to grab people and try to throw them to the ground and get on top of them and make them stop. But when you start using things that are on their person to kind of manipulate that, then they're like, dude, what's this?
Oh, shit.
You know what I mean? T-shirts, you know, there's techniques where people have grabbed the bottom of the T-shirt, pulled it over your head, and made a thick collar out of that T-shirt. And now that's a way to get choked,
and you can
way to get tossed.
Yeah. And that's another thing why I like this school too, because it's 2 weeks gi, and then I love the fact that that's even a thing, because I still like to do new gi.
Yeah, of course.
But like learning the gi, like how you said, like now I was always so against it. I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go no gi, right? And I'd competed, like 6 or 7 tournaments, and I was never first, but like I was doing always okay, right?
Yeah.
And then once I put that gi on that one time at that gym, I was like, that was an eye opening thing. I was like, fuck that. But then when I was coming back to train, when I made sure that I put time aside, and I was like, all right, I want to get back to rolling and doing this, and I'm looking forward to doing the gi. And it was so fun because it's just a whole different game. And I like when the 2 weeks is over, I look forward to the no gi for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then after the no gi, I'm like, oh, here comes the gi week, 2 weeks, and I look forward to that. So there's benefits of both, and that's why I like that the curriculum here is 2 weeks this and 2 weeks that.
Yeah.
So you're always learning, like both sides of the sport.
I felt it fit the style of the school. I'm not saying that it's a better way to train or anything like that. Everyone has their own way of training. Some schools only do one uniform and not the other.
Mhm.
Some schools will do primarily a uniform and they have one day of the opposite. The reason why I chose that style was because of the way that our instructors and myself, we teach. I like to teach things that are chained together. I've been to places where they have one day that's no gi, and they're teaching collar choke, collar choke, collar choke, sweeps with the gi, and then heel hooks.
Yeah.
And then they're going back to the curriculum and stuff. And you only really just get that one day of that curriculum if that's all that you have.
Mhm.
Certain things will tie together, rear naked chokes and arm bars and triangles. Those things, the moves themselves will translate from one to the other.
Yes.
But what won't are the setups.
Yes.
The setups are going to be a little bit different, stuff like that. So I think it's important to hit those differences when you switch over. Even when we switch from our uniform, if we're working triangles with the no-gi, and we're going to continue that for the next week in gi, the only thing that's really going to change there are going to be the setups, how the grips work, how they don't work, and how to change the grips to make it work for one or the other. You know what I mean? I think it's easier as a grappler to go from gi to no gi. If you've done gi for quite some time and you take it off, I think it's a little bit easier to transition that.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to transfer from no gi to gi.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is when you're in the gi, when you strip to no gi, you're taking things away, right? So you still have the knowledge. I still know I need to control the head. I still need to control the wrist. I still need to control this. But when you go the opposite, you're adding things that you didn't even know existed.
Yes.
You're like, why is this dude grabbing this? I didn't even know you could do that. Why is this dude pulling me here? Why can't I just step out and get this? So I think it's a little bit harder for the no-gi guys to jump into the gi because you are adding things that you didn't even know existed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I put on the pajamas and then like I'm starting to get fucking pulled on my my pants and like holding it. I'm like, holy shit. Cause I remember like when I first started here and I think it was like the 2 weeks of the gi, my hands were fucking hurting. Like I was like, oh my God, I can't wait for no gi. Like this is crazy. Like having like the grips, but over time, like I built my grip and everything like that. But you're right. It just like the fact that you could just grab a sleeve and just turn it, or having to fight that off, or using the pants to hold somebody down. Because coming from no gi, and all of a sudden you have, I don't know all that stuff. So that makes sense for you to say somebody who just takes it off already has that knowledge. I don't have to worry about the grabbing, and I don't have to worry about that compared to somebody who's just putting it on and they're like, oh, I'm a black belt in no gi, and then you put a gi on, and then a blue belt will probably whoop your ass because you don't know what to grab and
they
then
understand
grab
the grips. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just a completely different knowledge. I know that I've seen some people go from like a traditional school with gi and a little bit of no gi to strictly no gi. I've got a guy that I know that went from Gracie Barra out in New Mexico, and he ended up at a 10th Planet school. And they actually did not allow him to be a 10th Planet black belt, which makes total sense.
Yeah, because it's a whole different system.
It's a different system. And the thing is I feel like being a black belt, not only are you, there with time and with effort and with training, with experience and all that good stuff, a lot of it's knowledge. You know what I mean? The knowledge. When you go to a black belt in any affiliation that trains a certain style, 10th Planet being one that has their own particular style, you've got to be knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I feel like if I were to become a 10th Planet student, that I should not be a black belt.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the lingo, I don't have the moves, the techniques, I don't understand them as a 10th Planet black belt should.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't have that knowledge. It's almost like going to a new job. Yeah, you may have done this job over here for a long time in this department, and you may be doing a similar department at a new job, but you go right to the top of the food chain.
Right.
You don't know the things at the bottom of it. So with the ranking system, a lot of it is knowledge.
Yeah.
Having the knowledge and the experience. And I think they did right by having him go from Gracie Barra over to 10th Planet and not making him a black belt right away, having him re-earn it.
Yeah.
Because new techniques you got to learn.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah, and that's how I felt like when everybody was like, "You're a blue belt." I was like, I was a blue belt for no gi, but like I just felt like, for me, I was like, that doesn't feel right. Even though it's a no gi school too, also, I just felt like I can't myself feel like, oh, I'm a blue belt, but I put on the gi and I'm getting my ass whooped. To somebody who's been doing gi for a month.
Yeah, it's new to you. It's completely new.
And I was just like, all right, cool. Like I could totally understand that. So like taking a step back, because like I don't know enough. I might be able to get out of shit because like I kind of know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But if somebody's holding certain grips, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I didn't feel like proud or like confident enough to say that I'm a blue belt. So that's what I was like, all right, let me learn some shit. And whenever that happens, that happens. And that's how I went about it. And everybody was always tripped out when I competed for the first time in December. You're a blue belt? Yeah, I was and just like, because when I was telling you, I was like, I'm gonna compete, and I was like, I can't sandbag and do blue belt and no gi, and then go no gi and do a white belt. I was like, that made no sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna go blue belt. So that was the first time somebody was all watching me wear blue belt. They're like, I thought you were a white belt. I was like, well, I'm technically a blue belt, but I just felt like I shouldn't be wearing a blue belt on instructional when I've never done gi.
Yeah, and that was the first time as an instructor that I ever dealt with somebody coming to me with that. And so obviously I completely respected your wishes to train the way you wanted to train and for you to be promoted when everyone felt, that you were at that level for both uniforms and stuff like that. And there is a difference. There's a lot of similarities, but there is definitely a difference with it. And again, going from no gi to gi, I think is a harder route. Yeah. Because again, it's knowledge added that you didn't even know existed. Problems added that you didn't know existed.
Yeah, and I like the one thing that now that I've been like learning more and keeping track of like the sport and like different things and following certain people, like how much has the sport evolved since you from the beginning? Because I know there's a lot of people like, oh, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, American jiu-jitsu, and things like that, and they're like, well, Brazilians don't wrestle, and then Americans wrestle, and then they mix in, and like, so I've seen people call it American jiu-jitsu, not Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I've always been curious to ask somebody that's been around, like, what do you think about how the sport has evolved? And like now, like, oh, now there's a 10th Planet. Now this is American jiu-jitsu. This is traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like, what do you think about the sport and how's it evolved? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
So I haven't trained with too many Brazilians, like actual real deal Brazilians, to be able to give you a take on what people consider to be Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I just kind of consider it all to be the same when it comes to that fact. Only because I haven't had, I guess, what would be separated as training under a traditional Brazilian and then training under, any grappler that's in the U.S. that has learned it however they learned it. Yeah. I know that when, Gracie started, it was very much a self-defense thing. It was very much a more of a hardcore type of martial art. They teach like down knee strikes and side kicks and just crazy stuff and little things like that. And a lot of it was based off self-defense. In fact, being under when I got my black belt, at that time I was tested under Rickson Gracie's program at the time. The guy who gave me my black belt, good friend of mine, Ahmed Diallo, he got his black belt under James Tanaka, who was also under Rickson Gracie. So there's a lot of traditional testing that went on there, and self-defense was one of the biggest ones. And so now you don't see a lot of those self-defense techniques being taught in most schools. But I'm pretty sure you'd see them in some very, very classic Gracie schools. You know what I mean? So the evolution of it has become a little bit more towards the sport, which is fun. It's exciting. I know now that you're putting guys under the spotlights. You got things like ADCC out there. Who's number one. It's an entertainment. You got to make it entertaining. And the straight self-defense stuff isn't that. You know what I mean? It's not that entertaining. Yeah. And people don't attack you that way in competition.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know that sometimes they're like, oh, it's so boring. It's so boring. But like, for me, like, it's more like how you're saying the self-defense thing. Yeah. Yeah. So I can see how when it evolves, and if some guys are rolling around, there's nothing happening as a sport to watch, That's why a lot of people were always saying, "Oh, jiu-jitsu is boring to watch because the rule set and because of this and certain things." And like from what I've seen, like even just training at 10th Planet was like a whole other system of like different things of like you can do that, yeah, you can do that. Like
it can be done.
Yeah, it's like, well, isn't that like it's like technically it's bad to do it, but it's not illegal to do it.
Yeah,
it's just like,
just
but that's just
doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's part of the competition.
Like I remember when Chris was teaching and we were like doing arm bars, he's like, yeah, fight this, and if they're not, you put your foot on their face and you push that.
You make
and I'm
it
like,
work.
What?
Yeah,
you can do that. Yeah, you just stop. Yeah. Like it's part of it.
I just went to his 3-on-3 competition where the guys from Vegas took it, and very exciting group of guys. The whole tournament was exciting. I think I got there, the female teams were going, and then it transitioned into the other teams that were out there, and it was super exciting. There's just a lot of stuff going on. The Vegas guys were jumping around everywhere, passing guard like it was easy for them. And it was just super entertaining out there, and that is fun to watch. That stuff is very fun to watch, And I know that a lot of times people are like, "Well, the weight cap for the 3-man is so low." Well, that's because they don't want the big boys out there getting tired after 45 seconds on a 10-minute match. They want to keep it exciting.
Yeah,
and a lot of the people that were there, they had gas tanks, man.
Yeah,
and they were just go, especially those guys from Vegas.
Yeah,
big time gas tanks, and it was just fun and exciting to watch.
Yeah, I remember when I was training over there with Chris at 10th, and that's when the whole EBI thing started coming out. So there was like rule sets, and I was like, whoa, this like makes it fun. Yeah. It makes it fun because it takes away a lot of things that, well, like there's no winner. Yeah. With a lot of things, or there's no point system. It's like finish. Because in my head, I for me at that time when I was kind of like, gung ho about, I was like, yeah, I want to be able to I don't want somebody to just beat me in points. Yeah. I for me, I felt like I wanted to go out there and try to finish. But I understand that that's part of the game. But to see that was like changing and it was fun to watch. So it attracts more people to the sport as to be interested. Like, oh, damn, this guy's doing a cartwheel to do this. Yep. And like, there's no points. Yeah, no points. Somebody has to finish. And if the round's over, then they do this. What? You get their back, and then whoever gets out faster is like, and that's more fun to watch as a sport, which is cool. But for somebody who's just more of I just want to learn for defense. Yeah, they can care less about that.
Yeah, they don't really pay attention to any kind of rule sets or anything like that. You know what I mean? They don't know the difference. But as a competitor or someone who likes to watch competition, you want some exciting rule sets. Yeah, and the EBI stuff is good rule sets. I've been on a couple of their events with those rule sets. The get down rule, the overtime stuff. It's awesome. I think it's a very good rule set. The time limit on there. I know. Before they had Metamorphs. Metamorphs, I think that was out.
Oh yeah.
That was the old school. It's like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And some of those matches, man, were like,
boring as fuck. Yeah, just like
a super bore fest.
Yeah, just like there's not really much going on. Yeah, like it's like a battle of attrition.
Yeah, that's it. And then EBI started becoming a little bit more popular, and you started seeing those rule sets. You're like, man, this is exciting. I like watching it. I like competing on the rules. Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. And I think taking away the points for the most part makes it a little bit more exciting because people don't feel the risk of getting their guard passed or not passing somebody's guard.
Yeah, because I'm going to stay here because I don't want to get the points. Yeah, even when I my last competition and I did the no-gi and the guy he cleaned me up. And then I ended up going against him in gi and we were going back and forth and I took him down and I was in a certain position. I looked at the clock. And I was like, I told him, I was like, I'm not moving. He's like, I don't blame you. Yeah. Because I was already up on points. Yeah. And I'm not gonna put myself in a position to lose a point or get swept or anything like that. But without taking the points away, that makes sense. Like, all right, now, I don't have to worry about getting swept or whatever and get a point. I'm gonna try to go for the. I'm trying to go for the finish.
People are gonna move. Yeah. It's okay. Some people feel comfortable getting their back taken. Mm-hmm. Some people feel comfortable being in mount. Mm-hmm. Some people feel okay there. They do that at their gym. That's how they train. The EBI rule set has you train certain positions. You got to train to finish from the back and escape from the back. Or if you get to overtime, you're done. Yeah. Same thing with the spider web armbar. Yeah. The armbar from the side, you either train it, you get good at both escaping and attacking from it, or again, you're done. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it definitely changes your training in the gym a little bit if you're not already kind of in that routine of training for that. And it puts you in positions where you can be finished for the overtime. Yeah. Not the wrestling where two people stand up and you get guys that usually do jiu-jitsu and they both pull anyway And then now they're standing up trying to wrestle for overtime points. They're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because they don't train it. And that's okay. You don't train wrestling in your gym. If you're going to compete, I think you should have a whole lot of aspects.
Yeah.
You should have your wrestling, some judo, obviously some jiu-jitsu. And like I said, the EBI rule set makes all of that stuff exciting.
It's fun. And the fact that now, like, there's more and more eyes, and that's fun to watch too. You know, it's on the UFC, like they do the little invitationals once in a while. And there's more tournaments, and you know, like, so it's interesting to see that, and it's cool, and the sport's evolving and more exciting. Because I was watching just clips from that 3v3, and I was like, the guys were like, "Fuck yeah, he's done."
Yeah, dude.
I was like, "Oh shit!"
Those Vegas guys came to they came to take it,
dude.
Like,
that shit was so cool. I was like, "Holy fuck!" And that's when, like, as me, like, I'm more, I guess I could say I'm a hobbyist, but like I do want to compete on certain times when it makes sense for me.
Of course.
But when I see that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a whole other planet that I'm not even on. Like when you see somebody like, God damn, this fool's like, these guys are really into it. Like competitive guys, like when it comes to any sports, it's like you just see that's a whole different thing.
And you got to think about the amount of time that they get to train and also do take advantage of that and train, opposed to, you know, what you have going on in life. So, big time shout out to those that compete and work a 9 to 5. Because they don't have that early morning training, that afternoon training, and then the evening training. You know, they don't get those opportunities quite a bit. So I think it's pretty cool that some of those guys step up. I know for the longest time I worked full-time jobs plus running a school and made time for competition. A little bit less now, of course.
Yeah, of course, a
lot more things going on and things like that. But I feel like it's important to sometimes step away from stuff like that from yourself and give that to people who want to compete. Put that time in there. Because if I'm coming in here and I'm training for something, which has been a while since I had to do that, I'm taking time away from my students, taking time away from my teammates that are getting ready for things, and I'm not giving them the point knowledge, you know? I know Gordon Ryan had put up, he said the best thing to have is a coach that doesn't compete. You know, with John Danaher. And that dude's full focus is on competition. Danaher's full focus is on his competitors.
Coaching his competitors.
Coaching. I think it's pretty cool.
With that being said, like, you know, talking about the coaching, and you coach for a while and then you learn, you know, on the job, how did the opportunity arise to like be owning or running a gym? Like how was that come up? When did you realize, okay, this is what I want to do as an option or a career or a side business or whatever? Like, talk about that whole transition of like, oh shit, I'm running a gym now.
So that's exactly what my reaction was, actually. So 2 parts to that. One, I knew that I wanted to continue to do this when I set the other job aside. When I was like, okay, this is I'm going full in here. I've already made this commitment, and I set that aside. Because I screwed this up now, and now I got to look for something normal. You know what I mean? As far as what it was like starting to run a program, it was a blink of an eye. It really was. Because the first opportunity I got to be in charge of a program was when my instructor, Sean, took off to Kuwait. You know, he was military too. He took off to Kuwait. He's like, hey, man, I'm out of here soon. Here I am, a blue belt with a stripe, assistant kids program. And next thing I know, I'm turning around and getting a purple belt and a key to a gym and a program full of kids and a few adults. And I'm like,
oh, damn.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the things where it's like, okay, day before yesterday, because we did Monday, Wednesday, we only did a few classes a week. And so, you know, let's say he took off on Monday. Could have been a Wednesday. I don't remember, so long ago. But let's say he takes off on a Monday. By the time I come back to class, he's not there. It's me standing there out front, bowing these kids in by myself. I turn around and Sean's not there anymore. So I'm like, well, I guess I got to make this work now. You know what I mean? And so I did. I kept doing with that. And, you know, my original plan was to, at that point, I still wasn't fully committed to being a coach. I still had that other job that I was applying for and still had it in mind. And it was at that time that I was like, okay, I need to make a choice. And the choice I was about to make was to get these kids trained up a little bit, get a little bit of training in for myself, and then continue to go through the hiring process for the job that I was going at. And as I was making that decision, people just started showing up. You know, I felt that it was a real big challenge being a brand new purple belt at a really small school that was surrounded by brown and black belts. You know, for the exception of Cristobal, actually. We were like the only 2 guys that were running a program by ourselves as purple belts. You know, we had 2 different programs where he had his 10th planet and no gi only, and I had the gi and no gi. But it was still a challenge. I know, at least for me, I can't speak for him. I'm going to assume it was a challenge. because you're a purple belt. People are Googling schools when they're coming into town, and people are passing by schools. And yeah, a cool affiliation came up because at the time I was Helson before I went to Joker, before I changed it over. And there are guys that are much higher ranked than us running schools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially with me being brand new. So it was at that time that I was like, you know what? People started showing up. People started staying. People started being interested in what I had to teach and how I taught. And I was like, okay, this is the smoother road. This seems like it's lining into place. And that was just another piece.
Yeah.
And then I did that for 8 years. And then I got reintroduced to owning a school when I partnered with a friend of mine, Matt, here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was one of those things where he had asked me a few times in the past. And originally he just kind of wanted something to be able to go to at his own free will and be able to train. And he asked me if I would give him a hand with that. And through talks and conversations, it came down to that we were going to make it a business.
Nice.
That I was eventually going to take over when he took off to Germany.
Mm-hmm.
He was also a soldier. So I got reintroduced to, being a business owner and an academy owner. And again, it was still one of those things where it was like, okay, I got a lot of experience with this.
Yeah.
But it still felt new.
Yeah.
Because it was different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you had like the whole jiu-jitsu thing and one thing, and then all of a sudden you're a business owner.
Yeah.
Now you're overhead, facility, things like that, because that comes with it too. It's just like, you're an instructor, you're running an academy and things like that. And on top of that, you gotta keep the lights on, make sure people keep like the quality of product as yourself and the gym that you're running to keep people coming and wanting to train here and keep it open. Because I mean, how many businesses or how many gyms, not just jiu-jitsu, will open for a year and then they close?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just like, it takes like, oh, they have the knowledge, but they didn't have the owner stuff. Or now they had all the owner stuff, but they didn't have the experience. And with you, it seems like you got both that are just working in hand in hand to where.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. It's great to see. Like, I know that there was one portion, and because I was following you guys for like a year before coming. I was like,
okay.
I can't wait. Because it was like one part, and then you guys are opening up, and I saw the pictures. You guys opened up. I was like, holy shit, this is like a legit. Because I was going to other places that were around here, but I called back. Oh, they're not running tonight or not doing this, and that's why I ended up just going to the east side. I was like, I'm looking for a place that's not going to close.
Yeah. Of course, something that established. And by then, we're talking, near past here. Chris had been open for a very long time, running a very successful program. On top of having successful tournaments and events, and everybody knows Chris Fuller. You know what I mean? So you did not make a bad choice at all by passing up everybody here, especially passing by here, because we even made a move. And I feel like it's really important to keep your place established where it's at. And when you do move, it should be after a little while or at the very beginning, hopefully that you're going to stay there for a long time. And so after 3 months, we were already considering moving out of our old building because it was very small. And we didn't think that it was going to go the way that it went. A lot of people started showing up, and I had some people that were not coming to class because there wasn't enough space.
Damn.
And I was like, we can't have this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
we're going to lose people because we don't have the room. It's not that we can't teach it. We just don't have the room.
And most importantly, I don't want people paying for something they're not using.
Yes. Okay.
And that hurt the most. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, you're paying a membership and you're coming 1 day a week, or you're not coming because of this. And there's something we can do about that.
Yes.
So we did. We went and scurried the area for a place. And this is 2 miles away from where we originally opened at. So it was very close. It was still very convenient for everyone that had trained there. I had 2 students that were already driving from Horizon. So the little 2 miles didn't kill them any, you know what I mean? But for everybody else that was at the time that's still here, we're still in that general area. So that helped out a lot. Yeah.
And like, it's clean. Like I've been to other gyms when I was like traveling, and it's just like a little suite in a strip mall, super small. And I'm like, this is small, but you guys are not even keeping it clean. Like people walking on the mats with shoes and shit like that. I'm like, whoa. Because like when I started getting more into the sport, that was one thing that I like, your nails, like showering, and just like the type of people that are at certain gym. I'm like, oh, I don't want to be this dirty ass gym. Like nobody's calling each other out for hygiene, or like they're not mopping the floors after, and all that's being done here. And it's like a clean, open facility. So it's like, it's welcoming, it's clean, it's big, and it's like, all right, cool. I'm happy here. Like, you know what I mean? You offer mornings, nights, weekends, and it just, I like and I appreciate that, me just being a student and being a paid customer, the fact that you're like, I felt bad that people were paying X amount of money and they weren't even using it.
Yeah, it was
and
terrible.
that's being considerate.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are like, fuck, I got your money, I don't care.
No, I want people here training. If you're paying, train.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get people are going to miss class. It happens. We're all adults for the most part. You know, we have a kids program, obviously, and they have adults that bring them to class.
Yeah.
And we have things that come up, full-time jobs, you get changed in, you know, marital status or whatever. You have to move. There's a lot of things that can prevent you from training. And everybody understands that.
Yeah.
But what I don't want to have happen is us being the reason you're not coming to training and still paying for it.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah. With all the business stuff aside, and, you know, being able, you know, you've been running a successful business and school, you know what I mean? And it seems like there'll be times I'm like, God damn, we got so many fucking people in here. This is dope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's cool. Like, part of my scheduling was always Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's where my day took to come train. And then I heard about Mondays. I'm like, what's Mondays? Oh, it's Monday. It's like everybody just shows up. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I got to change my schedule. And I love coming up to Mondays because it's like open mat. Everybody's here just having a good time and long ass fucking rounds. And it's not like, I mean, if you want to go hard with somebody, you know who to pick.
Yeah, of course.
But if you're just looking to roll around and have like just get a good sweat in, it's like for me, it's a good way to start the week.
That's why I did Mondays and Monday Madness. After the weekend, I think it's the hardest. Everyone dreads Mondays, which is crazy because that is the goal setting day. You know what I mean? You're just like, after this weekend, Monday, I'm going to start this. Monday, I'm going to start that. Monday, I'm going to start saving money. Monday, I'm going to start my diet. Monday, I'm going to start at the gym. Monday is like the one day that you start any kind of goal that you make. Nobody starts a goal on Sunday.
Yeah, on Sunday, I'm going to start.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Sunday's your last day to do whatever wrong that you're doing before you go out and do your right? So if you're going on a diet, you're going to go smash hamburgers and pizza and all that stuff
all the week
on that weekend. Then you're like, okay, Monday.
Yeah.
Monday, I'm going to make it all right. So I felt it was appropriate to have a hard day on Monday. And I'm glad other people agreed.
Yeah, man.
A lot of people show up.
Fuck yeah, it's fucking awesome. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. Because like, I mean, certain people that you want to go hard with, hey, they're saying those areas. I always sit over in that little corner, and people come, and it's always fun. And like, the fact that there's so many different levels of people, you know what I mean, which is cool too. Because at this school, it's like there's a lot of different sizes, and there's a lot of different genders. There's a lot of females and a lot of males, and everybody's all rolling together. And I think that's one cool thing about our sport is that you can roll with a girl and a guy will find out feel weird, or girl feel, and after time you become friends and you're just trying to kill each other. Yeah.
You just, you set that whole male female thing aside. There's obviously some things that you are going to take in consideration. A lot of it's going to be, size and weight.
Yeah.
Things like that. Everybody's a training partner.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what their gender is. You treat a smaller training partner like the smaller training partner. You treat a large training partner like a large training partner.
Yeah.
As long as you keep it that way, it's just all grappling.
Yeah. That's true.
all it is. And being a coach and being things like that, it's very difficult for me to dodge anybody that wants to train. That's my job. My job is to teach. My job is to know everyone individually so that I can make those corrections. People sometimes don't understand that. They're like, well, why does coach roll with females, but some of these guys don't? Or why does coach roll with these?
Yeah.
And because everyone needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
And felt. And in that case, when I'm teaching a class and I'm showing a technique and I've got, you over there that's at your weight and I've rolled with you a bunch. And I'm like, yeah, just do this. And that's great for guys that are 200 pounds.
Yeah.
But because I've rolled with you, I know what your style's like. I know what you feel like. Because I've rolled with the females, I know what their style like. I know what they feel like. I can now go to your group and be like, hey, man, I know I said teach it like this, but for you might want to add these little things to it. And see if that works out.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because one thing, I'm a really observant person. Like, I just really observant. And I'm sure because of you, because of security, it's a lot of shit. Yeah. But for me, I've always liked I've been fortunate not to have a bad jiu-jitsu coach. I mean, I've had Chris, then I had you. You know what I mean? So appreciate I was always... I liked how Chris' style was, and then I started watching you, and you guys do your own things in your own different ways, but I like the fact that you take the time to get to know the person. You take the time why they're here, and you take the time to know what they're trying their goals, and this way you could help them individually, because you have over like 200 students,
and
you take the time to do that.
Yeah, and that's why you're here. And, I appreciate you saying that, and I want to be better at that. I don't visit my 5 a.m. class as much. It's 5 a.m. You know what I'm saying? I don't visit my 5 a.m. as much, and I am here for the fundamentals. I don't teach it. I've got some guys that do teach that class, but I make sure that I see them before they go. I try to make it here on most days if I'm going to be on the later side of it. If the latest I try to get here is 5:30, because that's a class that's ending, a class that's starting, a kid's class is ending, and a kid's class starting. That is where everybody is making that transition out, so that I can see as many people as I can see. You know what I mean? I try to do things. We have a barbecue coming up that I haven't actually announced yet. Surprise!
There you go.
A barbecue coming up in July, and that is for me to give back. I'll be out there barbecuing out in the heat and all that good stuff. I got some of the guys that come out there and hang out with me. My family will be here too. But that is for me to give back. That is for me to cook and barbecue for everybody to enjoy. It's one of our anniversaries, and that brings a lot of the people together too. We get some of these mass promotions that we do for the adults, and some of the guys from like the 5 a.m. the fundamentals come to 6:15. Everyone's like,
who the fuck?
I shouldn't be that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I shouldn't be that guy.
Exactly.
It's okay for everybody else to be that, but I shouldn't be looking at you getting ready to give you a stripe or a belt and be like, who's that? I don't run 15 affiliations around the country, 10 affiliations around the state. I don't do that. I have one school, one place to be. So I just feel it's important to get together with everybody as much as you can while you're at your job, because you never know. Well, and you're also like, you're wanting to get to know people, because like the one thing, going back to the whole jiu-jitsu, it's a community. It's a community thing. Like you being the owner and the black belt and the professor here, and you just going out of your way to talk to the smallest kid or the oldest guy. Everybody who's in and out of your door. You might not be at every class, but of that person and how they're progressing, because you're taking the time to watch and learn. Because like, hey, you've been doing this, and I've noticed that you've always done that. You should start working on this. Like the other day when you were telling me, in my head, I think about that shit all the time. I hesitate. And you told me, why are you waiting? And I'm like, God damn it. You know what I mean? And like, I know that, but hearing it from you was kind of like, all right, I need to just go. And like getting that feedback, how you're saying you roll with everybody, so you can give them that feedback to get there. Like, if you want to get better, I'm going to help you get better if you want to get better. Yeah, of course.
And so my next question, like segue, is like the whole ranking system. A lot of people, when they come in, like, oh, I want to, like somebody the other day here, I'm here to get my black belt. I'm trying to get a black belt in 5 years. I'm like, hey man, that's awesome, bro. And in my head, I'm like,
rent a room back there, buddy.
Yeah, good fucking luck. But in my head, I'm like, well, I don't know what his drive is. Like, I'm not saying it's not possible, but at the same time, I'm like, it's probably, unless you're like how you were saying, like you're not working and this is your main goal and you're learning and you're training and you're competing and you can progress that fast. Okay, fine. But do you think that that competing is part of ranking? Like I felt like in some schools I've heard, like when I was traveling, like I would talk to instructors or like, oh yeah, I don't promote unless people are competing. How do you feel about ranking when like somebody who's just a hobbyist compared to somebody who's competing at least 3 or 4 times a year, or compared to somebody who's not, but like is training just as much?
So with that being said, when it comes to rank, I feel like ranks have purpose. They have jobs. They have meaning. And it doesn't only mean how good you are at grappling. There's a lot of things that consider to be a rank. So with that being said, to give you a quick answer, yes, I do feel like there should be a difference in ranking sometimes when it comes to hobbyists opposed to your competitor grappler. And a lot of it is the time that they spend on the mat more than their skill set alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they may know the exact same things about jiu-jitsu, but one rolls better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
Do I feel like the one that rolls better should be a higher belt than the other one because of that? No, I don't. Because there's abilities that some people have and some people don't when it comes to rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start to put the rank system in a system of, what is your job, what is your purpose there, then that is a pretty good gauge on how to start kind of ranking people. So people who compete, they're probably going to put more time on the mat. They're probably going to be at more classes. They're probably going to be doing more drilling, more solo drilling. They're probably going to put more work in to jiu-jitsu than the hobbyists.
Yes.
Where a competitor is like, man, I'm sore, I'm going to class.
Mm-hmm.
And JoJo that works at T-Mobile is like, I'm sore, I'm going to take a couple days off.
Yeah.
That is where the ranks should be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But if you come to the same classes, retain the same knowledge and stuff like that, then no, it shouldn't be separated. Another reason why I can see competitors getting ranked a little bit faster is, again, purpose. If you are a blue belt competitor and you are completely annihilating your blue belt division, and the only next step for you to continue to compete and continue to do what you want to do and your goals is to be promoted, then that is a route that we need to start looking at.
Yeah.
Sandbagging is the thing.
Yeah.
And it's usually not the competitor's fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Schools that only rely on just attendance for their promotions is going to have someone who probably should have been a blue or a purple belt, a few weeks, few months prior than what their attendance is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then, just because you're not training at your school doesn't mean you're not training.
Yeah.
So people travel. Summer vacations, they take off. And I tip my hat to those that take a vacation and go, I know I'm out here on vacation,
there's a gym.
I'm about to find a school.
Yeah, there's a gym. That was one thing I was like, when I was traveling, I was like, where's the gym? Is it drivable? Like, I just...
100%.
Yeah.
And see, I definitely tip my hat off to those because you're on vacation.
Yeah.
Which means you're on vacation from everything that you normally do.
And you still want to go do this.
You still want to go train jiu-jitsu. So I think that's cool. I like to see that. I know we have Donovan who goes on vacation quite a bit, and that dude is always at another gym when he's on vacation.
Yeah.
He don't care.
Yeah, he's a really knowledgeable guy. I'm like, God damn it. He was whooping my ass. But I like that, going back to the whole community thing and everybody's just trying to get better. I like that because everybody was saying like, oh, why aren't you a higher belt? Or why is this person this belt? And like before I was always worried because I was like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then now I'm just more like what we were talking about earlier is just the knowledge, like retaining it and things like that. Because like you said earlier with Ryan's coach, right? Is like he's just a head coach and that's what he's training. Absolutely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could be knowledgeable and not have to be competing, right?
Yeah. I recently had a conversation with a guy I used to train with, and he's got some things that are preventing him from being a rolling coach, a coach that can get out and roll with his guys and stuff, and almost considered kind of not training jiu-jitsu anymore. Mm-hmm. And after our conversation and stuff like that, he realized that him walking away it's impossible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, he's back on that track and stuff. But him not being able to roll is not going to make him a bad coach.
Yeah.
One advantage that we have doing jiu-jitsu is that as, lower belts or students, teammates, we get to roll with our coaches. We get to train with our coaches. If your coach is willing to go out there and train. Trust me, I've been to schools where black belts walk around with their gi like it's a suit.
Yeah, and that's it.
Their belt's a tie. And they're like, pictures? Throw it on there. You know what I mean? Or they'll teach a class, keep a clean gi, and then the sweat and tears start, and they go to the office or go do something else. And that's their preference.
Yeah.
You want to be a businessman? That's cool.
Yeah.
But most of the time, you get to roll with your coaches. Your coaches are out there doing what they do. You don't get that with football.
Yeah.
You don't get that with basketball. You don't get that with baseball. You don't get too much of that like with boxing. Some of the coaches they still kind of box, but your old retired coaches, they're off to the side and they're teaching you how to box. They're making you a monster, but they're not getting in the ring with you.
Yeah.
And exchanging punches and stuff for the most part. Football, there's no football coaches throwing on pads.
Yeah, exactly.
Their kids, you know what I mean? So we get to have that advantage here. But just because you can't do that portion of it doesn't mean you can't be a great coach.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean what's up here can't be pushed out to somebody that can have that ability to do it. And so that is going to be the adjustment he's going to have to make for the future, is being that type of coach.
Yeah. Because like with the whole ranking system, like, well, how long did it take you to do this? I was like, every school's different. That's the beauty of it. Like certain schools are more competitive than others. Some are more lax than others. Maybe how you said, I like, oh, like one thing I was this is just me. And I'm not talking shit, but I'm just what I see. With like when little kids go through karate and they're like, oh, he's a whatever belt, and only because he showed up, but that doesn't mean he's good. And they're like, oh, he's a black belt he's a whatever belt, and I'm like, that's bullshit. Like he gets fucking competed just because he showed up every time. They're just ranking him because of the attendance. I'm like, how does the fuck does that work? But it's more of like, and I don't know, maybe I'm just from what I see, it's more of a business thing. Yeah, I'm justifying because they're showing up. And I got to move them up the rank or kind of thing. So I feel like with jiu-jitsu, I think it's a little harder because it's based on the school and how the coaches and the instructors, and they see like, yeah, I can move you up if I wanted to, but I don't feel like I'm gonna promote you under my system. And then like Justin promoted that guy to a purple belt. What the fuck?
And see,
that goes back to you.
As an instructor, that's not something I ever want to have happen. I'm sure it's happened before. You know what I mean? Again, there are certain places you go where there's just a better quality of certain grapplers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. And again, what I like, I'll use purple belt as the rank because I feel like for me, that is the hardest belt to get here. And it's one of the most important belts to be here because of where I was as a purple belt. And so I'm a little hard on the purple belts. I don't ever want these guys to go to another school. We got a lot of soldiers here. They PCS, they go somewhere else. I don't ever want to give these guys a purple belt and send them away and them not feel like a purple belt and the school not feel like they're a purple belt. And I'm more concerned about them not feeling a purple belt. Not so much the school. And it's because everyone has their own expectations of what belts are and what they do. I believe that if you're a purple belt, you should be pretty proficient in rolling. You should definitely be able to teach. And you should have some time and experience on the mat. So as a purple belt here, I feel like any of our purple belts can go to any school and run a class.
Yeah.
Can run a week, can run a month. You know what I mean? Some of the purple belts we have here can run a program. Because that's what I had to do as a purple belt. And I know it's a little biased just because it's from my experience, but I don't ever want to give those guys a failing chance if they have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or even here. You know what I mean? I don't ever want them to feel like they can't do something in jiu-jitsu just because, just a purple belt.
Yeah.
Or I got my purple belt because I slashed everybody in the gym for a few months and they gave me my purple belt.
Yeah.
You know? So purple belt, when I was coming around, was a very vicious rank. Not only did they just kick your ass, but they also were able to show you how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, blue, you don't really get that expectation. White, you definitely don't get that expectation. You're like, I don't know if I want to listen to that.
Yeah.
You know, brown and black, you're kind of more on the knowledge part and a little bit less on the physical part.
Yeah.
Because things have been broken, things have been tweaked, surgeries have probably happened. You know, you're probably a dad or a mom. Or there's things in your adult life. You know, you're not a 17-year-old purple belt.
Yes.
You know what I mean? At that point, now you're a 23, 24-year-old brown belt.
Yeah.
Or if not older.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was in my 30s when I was a brown belt.
Yeah. And those are all perfect. Like, that's exactly how I feel like from not knowing too much, but seeing, I think that makes more sense. Like, I didn't think about more the knowledge thing. It's like, yeah, you're out there ripping everybody's head off, but are you really, I like the fact that you said, can you teach a class? Yeah. Can you tweak something to help that person or help that student get better because you know it? Not because you can do it, but can you teach it? Yeah. And I've always felt that by teaching, you get better yourself. Because like I grew up playing hockey, and I was always pretty good. I was always a small guy. I was scoring goals. I was getting out of the way. I wasn't putting anybody on their butt. I mean, I wasn't like fighting in the corners or like anything. But what I was good at is just taking face-offs, gritty around the net, scoring goals. Like, I was quick. And I was able to teach that to people over time because I've been playing for 25 plus years. And even though I can't do it now, I could comfortably run a whole camp if I wanted to. Not that I'm gonna, but I could pass my knowledge on because I feel confident enough because of my experience of playing competitively and for how long, and I could teach it to anybody, a lefty or righty, or you might not skate backwards this way. All right, well, think about cutting off the edge this way. Okay, I'm not a goalie, but I could teach somebody how to be a goalie. You know what I mean? Things like that. And that comes with the time.
Passing it down is what's powerful. You know what I mean? Because at some point, you're going to have to pass the torch. Yeah. At some point, I am not going to be able to roll. But doesn't mean my brain doesn't work. Doesn't mean I can't pass on something for somebody else to do, to pass on, to pass on, to pass on. And that's what the most important part is. And I know a lot of people are very up on the rolling portion of the belt rank system and the rolling portion of jiu-jitsu in general. Like, oh, this guy's a blue belt, but he's tapping everybody. You sure you're a blue belt? But couldn't teach an armbar. Yeah. You know what I mean? So passing down knowledge is very important, and I feel like that comes with time. It also comes with effort. And you don't get those that time and those efforts when you're a lower belt because you're learning how to be a grappler at that point. Even as a purple belt, you know, you're still learning how to be a grappler at that point. But as a purple belt, you probably have run warm-ups, you know, for the most part. You probably have fixed techniques around. If your instructor's done things like seminars, you've probably been one of the guys that went with him as an uki on the road and you know, stuff like that. So there's a little bit more knowledge there as a purple belt, and yeah, you should still kind of be a good roller because most are still within that good healthy age range where they can still roll and things like that. And I think our age range for jiu-jitsu is a lot wider than most sports.
Yeah,
even most martial arts.
Yeah, because you could have a 40-year-old blue belt, and then by the time he's 50, now he's barely getting his purple belt, and things like that. It's like, oh, crazy. But he's been training for so long, but how you said life and things get in, from that path or whatever. And I always feel like I hope that I always want to keep training. As long as I'm able to train, I look to always train somehow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It might not be as much as I'd want, but I don't, just like hockey, I'll go back and play hockey every once in a while. I was like, damn, Jimmy, you gave up hockey. I was like, I didn't give it up. I could go back anytime.
Yeah.
So anytime there's a local tournament, there was a tournament a while back, I was like, fuck it. Let me get back out there. I wasn't the best, but I wasn't the worst. You know what I mean? And I went out there and I had a good time. And I felt like this sport for me, I could always just get back into whenever I want at whatever pace I want. And it's like a whole damn, I'm going to see myself training until I die, hopefully. God, as long as I'm able to, I'm gonna.
Yeah,
of course. So with all that being said, being an owner, running your first classes, getting your ass kicked the first time and fucking going through all this shit. What's an ideal future for yourself? Do you want to run the school forever? Do you have ideal future of making it bigger? What are some of your aspirations of not only being an instructor, but a business owner?
Yeah. So, stay the course for me. I like what we have. Are we looking for expansion? Yeah, we're always looking for expansion. We have room within to grow.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't even maxed out our spaces, our opportunities, and things like that. I like to see people grow within the gym and then come to me and be like, is there space for me to run a class? Is there space? I like that. I think that's cool. And we've had that recently. We've had it recently with our 5 a.m. class. They asked to open up, one of the instructors came up and was like, hey, man, I want to open another class during the week. Go for it.
That's dope.
I like to see that.
Yeah.
Because he's been training under a 5 a.m. class for a while. But he's also been filling in for that somebody when they have to step out of town, can't make class or whatever. And now he's got his own thing. I like to see that.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
And you give people the opportunity to do that because you wouldn't just say that to anybody because you get to know them and you feel confident enough for them to run a class under your school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I gave him his brown belt.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where it was like he had put in the time, the effort, the training, the teaching. He had everything going for him. He got his brown belt. And now he's like, hey, dude, I'm available on this day. I would like to run a
That's
class.
Cool, man.
I think it's cool. And we had the same thing going on with one of our guys in the evening who came up to me and asked me if he can do some striking stuff. And I said, I have some stuff, open for you on the schedule there if you want to try to fill in some time there. My only thing is when it comes to new classes and new offers for classes, and obviously, when the schedules get posted, the public doesn't know how long it took for that class to get added.
Yes.
So I don't like to have a class on the schedule that could potentially be canceled, taken away, or is inconsistent.
Yeah.
I don't mind if our guys do it here. If you keep it internal, that's cool. If you have a small group of guys that you want to text on, Tuesday at 3:00. That's your thing. That's cool.
Yeah.
I will not put that on a public schedule
makes sense.
for people to randomly show up and be like, hey, the doors are locked.
Yeah. I hear at 5 a.m. I hear at 5 a.m. There's nobody fucking here. What the hell? Yeah.
So if you want to keep it internal and that's how you want to keep it, cool. I will always ask you if you want to keep it internal, if you want to have it a public class. If you tell me a public class, I will tell you, run that class for weeks with no cancellations, no problems, no issues. And then I'll make it a public class. Yeah. And that's where we're at. I just put that 5 a.m. class. I think it's been running for 6 weeks, almost 7 weeks. And I just now put it on the schedule for the public. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Because I want to make sure the classes are solid.
Yeah.
Canceling classes can be very damaging, I think, to an academy. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But consistency is very key.
Yeah.
And in order to build a class, consistency has to be a thing. Our 5 a.m. class had nothing. Professor Allen wanted to run that class. It started with Professor Matt when he was here running an early morning class, and then that kind of trickled down, and then we ended up getting Professor Allen that wanted to run at the time. He was a brown belt, and I'm like, you do realize that's a difficult time. It has to be consistent.
Yeah.
And that is what he stuck to.
That's awesome.
And now his class is consistently between 10, 15, if not more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a lot of his hard work and his dedication.
Yeah.
and his time that went into that, along with, Angel, who also helps with that class, and some of the other upper belts now
Mhm.
that have been helping out with that class and stuff. So, yeah, I love to see people grow within the gym and then
Yeah.
come to me and ask me to do something for the gym. I think it's
Yeah.
cool. Gives you an opportunity to be, a little entrepreneur within an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's cool.
I like that you're saying staying the course, because I feel like for me, like I came in when you guys were already established, and I feel like, damn, this seems like it's just getting better. You know what I mean?
That's cool. Yeah, and that's cool to see because being in charge of it, I see it and I like it, but it's nice when other people see it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you'll definitely see the bad.
Yeah.
You'll see like no classes. You're like, where's everybody at? You know what I mean? Like, oh, there's a hole in the wall. It's not getting fixed. Or this is not getting fixed. That's dirty. This. So you'll see a deterioration. So it's nice when you see, something being upbuilt and getting better, especially when you kind of came in where you came in at. We have a few people that have been here since we opened the original grind over on Dyer, and imagine what they've seen. Imagine what we've seen and stuff like that. So it's always fun to see, that upslope going on the chart. And I think I'm happy. I'm happy with the way things are going. I love the people that train here. I love the atmosphere. Our coaches, we have a good amount of coaches, a good amount of people, and everyone jumps in and fills for each other.
Yeah.
You get one text message, hey, I'm not going to be able to make so-and-so class. Can you fill in? And these are things kind of behind the curtains, because we have a coach's text message outside of our whole school text.
Yeah, of course.
And, these guys are asking to be filled in, and guys are picking them up just like that. And
that's cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah, man. I love the fact that, it's like I said, I wanted to train in the Northeast, and the fact that it's a good gym, great instructors, great facility, and, you're doing different things to not only upkeep, but make better, and I appreciate that as being a student, because I'm like, damn, it's not like he's just hoarding the money and it's like fucking AC's not working. He's not trying to mop the floor. He's not getting new stuff. Like when you told me the other day, like I buy mops every so often. He's like, I don't like dirty stuff. Like to the regular person that doesn't think about that shit, the fact that you're doing that, and like a lot of people don't know that, but the fact that I know that knows, like I appreciate that you care.
Yeah, of course.
You care.
Yeah, of course I care. I mean, it's one of those things that, you take care of it, it'll take care of you. And I do. I try to put as much back into the gym as possible. I try to save money in certain places, not to keep it, but to put it somewhere else that has to do with this. Wearing one of the shirts that I printed in the back, that the screen printing business started in the back. And so far, we've just kind of been doing our own stuff there. And I enjoy doing it. It's a little bit extra time. It does take a lot of time. Dude, screen printing it was a whole new experience for me when I started. It's still a new experience, and I'm still learning a ton of stuff. And damn, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it is fun. It's a good challenge to take on. I printed this as a sample shirt that will be available for us a little bit later. But there's certain things about this shirt that it took me a long time just to line up the thing that looks the most simplest. Like, it looks easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And it gave me a new appreciation for those that are in the business of it. And, you order shirts as a consumer and you're like, what's taking this dude so long? Or how come you can't just, now I see why.
Yeah. I like that when you were doing all that in the back, but that also adds value to your gym, because it's like you're not outsourcing. And at the same time, like you want people to rock the gym stuff, but not pay an arm and a leg. Yeah. So by you doing this, it keeps the money in, and everybody's supporting it anyways. Everybody was buying your shit before anyways, but the fact that now we know that it's being done here and it goes right back into this, like people are more willing to buy more, because I'm like, oh, new shirt, fuck it, I want it. All right, let me get a shirt. Let me get this and that. I was like, it's from here. It's way more. I know where the money's going to, and you're trying to make it better because that's helping the gym overall, and it helps people in their pockets too.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me was another way for me to provide a service.
Yeah,
that was really the biggest part of it. We all have patience to a point and stuff like that, but for me, when I was putting that back there and getting things set up for it, it was more of what's another way that I can do something for you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's what it was.
It's awesome.
Just like with the barbecue.
Yeah.
We're going to have that barbecue here. It's like, what's another way that I can kind of give back to you guys? Because without you guys here, it's an empty building.
Yeah.
And this is an empty dream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't get to enjoy doing this without you guys here. So I want to make sure that you guys understand that I appreciate you guys being here, and that, everyone that's involved in this is appreciative of everybody else.
Yes.
Because again, and I realize that without me, there's no them or you, but there is everywhere else.
Yes.
So, but without you guys, there's no me anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I go work a regular job and just be a regular Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy that people enjoy being here. I like to see, I try to spend as much time up front as I can, so I can see people coming and going, and I try to read people coming out, into the door, out of the door, hey, you doing all right? Oh, you're happy, I love to see that stuff.
Yeah. So before we start wrapping this up, I got some little rapid fire questions for you. And some rapid fire questions for you. And then this is just for fun too. So I'm just going to ask you some questions and see your thoughts. All right. So if you had to choose, gi or no gi?
No gi.
No gi. Armbar or Kimura?
Kimura.
Heel hook or knee bar?
Heel hooks. Rear
naked or guillotine?
Rear naked.
And what's your favorite submission?
Rear naked.
Nice.
Rear naked. That's my favorite one. Yeah.
It's cool because I always asking those kind of questions because I favor certain things and it's cool. I remember when I was at 10th, people would love fucking heel hooks. I'm like, God damn it, fucking I always have to worry about that shit. Or some people were really good at Kimuras. God damn it, I gotta worry about this shit. But it's cool that everybody has their go-to shit, and I always asking people what they like to do. It's fun.
So the reason why I like the Kimura over the armbar is the amount of control that you have and the structure that you make with your body. That Kimura lock, rather use it for a submission or to control someone. And this goes back to my time being an armed guard and having to use these techniques to put people in positions that I need them in, to put handcuffs on them. That is one of the best. The armbar isn't going to put somebody.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's great for jiu-jitsu and everything, but I look at the Kimura as an overall thing. It's also great for jiu-jitsu. It's also great for self-defense. Rear naked, same thing. It's one of those things that you are completely controlling somebody over things like a guillotine, and you're behind somebody rather than being on your back.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So, and we talked about the reason for no gi. No gi, I feel like it's just, it's one of those things that you have to push and push and push and push and push. And it's very hard to earn your breaks. Where in gi, it's a little bit easier to earn your breaks. You hold here, and you lay there, and you just kind of chill out. But no gi doesn't have those restrictions of being tied down. So you have to really earn your breaks.
Yeah.
And you have to earn your control.
Yeah.
With that. So.
Dang. I like the when you said Kimura, I was like, yeah, that's dope. But then now you saying, I'm like, no shit, because how you can use a Kimura to sweep, you can use a Kimura to finish, you can use Kimura to do different things. And you're right, in an armbar, you can't really use an armbar to transition or use it.
Yeah, not to that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some things you can transition over to the armbar with. There's triangles. You can also go to Kimura from armbar. And there are some sweeps based off of that, with that. But a lot of it is for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's for jiu-jitsu.
And for overall, you're saying the Kimura for overall.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Everything.
That figure four lock you make with your arms is very strong. It's an extremely strong structure. You can use it just to grip somebody and put their... I use that figure four lock sometimes just to put somebody's fist to their stomach.
Yeah.
Just to prevent them from using it, turning, moving. And you can, manipulate the body using that figure four. Yeah. It's super powerful.
I love it. Love it. Man, let's wrap this up. I appreciate you taking the time, man. I know that we talked about this, but I'm glad we did, and we did it here. But before we get out of here, man, plug words of location. What are some of the class hours that somebody that might be watching now that they're interested, because maybe my community or whatever, but talk about the location and where it's at and where they can find you.
Yeah, so we're right off the Gateway by McCoy's. We're at 8935 Gateway South. B7 is the entrance door. You'll see some other doors around the area. It is 3 suites into one, so B7 is our entry. Classes, like you said, we have some 5 a.m. classes. The full schedule is on the website. It's also on the Instagram. We have it here at the gym, and of course, I can always be contacted for the schedule as well and stuff like that. So we do offer 5 a.m. classes. We do offer some afternoon classes. We offer early evening classes, kids classes, and we also do adult classes in the evening time. We have a Sunday class, nothing on Saturday. It's why we're here.
Yeah.
So we have quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, and I like that, the fact that it's such an open thing, and you could show up till 5 a.m. one day and then do a night class another day. Yeah. You know what I mean? I like the fact that the person, there was a gentleman that I was rolling with during the seminar. I was like, how long you been rolling? He's like, I'm been here so long. He's like, I only do the 5 a.m. class. He's like, I've never seen you either. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, cool. You know what
and it's cool that how you were saying that there's so many different people that I don't know, but it's great to know that all those times are being filled and there's actually people showing up.
Yeah.
You know, because how many times will like I've gone to gyms out of town or whatever, and it's like a prime time class and there's only 5 people. I'm like, oh damn, you know what I mean? That's,
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of crazy. It's just not. I was like, I came 3 days in a row and like there was only 5 or 6 people. It's like, oh damn, this is a really small gym or whatever.
And that's really the best way to kind of judge if you're looking for that kind of like information stuff, like how are the classes to the ones I'm going to. Go to a couple of them. Yeah. There's always something that will make your class gigantic.
Yeah.
Or super small. You know what I mean? Some will do like a promotion night and you don't know it's promotion night.
Yeah.
You're in here doing this and you're like, oh man, there's 50 students here. This is awesome. And then you sign up based off of that day.
Yeah.
Now the classes are back to normal size or even smaller than normal, or vice versa. There are things going on in the city or just with people in general, and there's 10, 15 people in class, or there's 5 people in class. You know what I mean? So it's always good. It's one of the reasons why I feel like a week is a good determination on if you're going to be able to, one, make that commitment, that training, and if you enjoy what you're getting into, and a week I feel like is a good amount of time, because your job, sometimes you have a regular 9 to 5 and you have weekends off. Other times you're like, what's my schedule going to be like this week? Does that fit? Can I still train? Stuff like that. So
I like that. Yeah, man. So you guys can find all the information will be down below, and they offer a week trial to come check it out, because it might be up your alley and it might not be, like some people, but I like that you have that. And then Mondays are open too, so come check us out, guys. Mondays, you want to come roll with my ass, even if you never rolled, come on a Monday. It's fun. Everybody gets after it, and if you're just here to learn, like a lot of people take the time to learn, because eventually I get people who will come and they're like, God damn it, I want to sign up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's cool. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's with all the classes that we offer, we get a lot of people on the mats daily for jiu-jitsu, but not all together.
Yeah.
And I think what's important about that, trust me, it's cool to have 50 people on your mats. Makes school look good. Yeah. Everybody's here. You all get the chance to hang out and stuff like that. And we got space for it.
Yeah.
We've had a few seminars here where we've had 100 plus people at those seminars, and they've been able to fill the mats, but not have limited space where they're going to fall off.
Yeah.
But what I like about the smaller classes, meaning that we have our classes so spread out that everybody can train, is that you get a little bit more personal attention with those. You know what I mean?
Yes.
When you got 50 guys in one class, you got 1, maybe 2 black belts out there. There's groups over here that don't get touched if that happens.
Yeah.
So I don't mind having the smaller classes where you're teaching something and you're able to get to every individual group and spend a significant amount of time with them without people getting bored.
Yes.
Because everybody's the same. You start to learn the technique, you drill it like 3 times. I got it.
Yeah, fuck this.
Yeah, I got it. That's it. You know what I mean? And then you just sit around and you BS.
Questions? Of course
0.
not.
None. There's no question.
And then later, hey, how do I do this? I just fucking talk.
We get out, we bow, we start to get the mop water going, and then I turn around, there's 5 people on the mats asking somebody else a question. I'm like, I was right here. Yeah, I was right here, dude. I couldn't answer that.
That's hilarious. Man. Well, man, make sure you guys go check us out on the Instagram. Justin, you get super reachable, and come check us out, man. It's me personally, and I'm not just because I train here. This is probably one of the best facilities I've been to. It's clean, it's open, everybody's friendly, and that's one of the main things. Like for me I just want to go and have a good time and not worry about getting my ass kicked out all the time and not having a good time. Like if I want to go in here and go hard against somebody, I could. If I want to just take it light and just roll around, I can. So the fact that it's open to all different skill levels is great. You know what I mean? It's not like super hardcore. Like you got to come in like, oh, well, you got to be able to do this. If you're going to come on this couch, you got to do this or whatever. There's the fundamental class for a reason. You know what I mean? There's a night class for a reason. There's a competitive night for a reason. There's an open mat on Mondays for a reason. So everybody has the opportunity to pick their schedule, because I like coming Mondays, and then everybody had a hard ass Monday and they might not come Tuesday. Yeah. And Tuesday's a small class. But for me, now that I'm like, I have more time to talk to Justin or talk to somebody who is a higher belt to learn more, that's what I want to do.
And see, I feel like those are the benefit with the classes. And Mondays people go run that fade. They don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On Mondays. And it makes for a smaller class sometimes on Tuesdays. People are a little bit bruised, a little bit beat up. And maybe they use that as their rest day. Yeah. And there's people that train on the weekends. You know what I mean? There's Fort Bliss has a really good open mat on Saturdays that a lot of our guys go to. Fort Bliss is a very big supporter of our program, and vice versa. We're very supportive with theirs. And I love having that, being a veteran and spending a lot of my time on Fort Bliss, both as where I started grappling for the most part, other than quitting the first school that I got my ass kicked
Right.
at. But even if I don't know that I would have gone to that school even if I still stayed in in the Bay Area. You know what I mean? I don't know if I would have stayed there, but I would have continued to train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tuesdays can be a little bit smaller.
Yeah, but there's some that people don't come on Mondays, but then like I've seen Tuesdays like, oh shit. And then like, oh, none of these guys came yesterday.
No.
Or like I'll see people on Monday and they won't come Tuesday and vice versa. Or like where were you yesterday? I was like, I was here Tuesday. Well, I didn't go because I went Monday. I was like, oh, okay. And then like, oh, I'll see you Thursday. All right, and everybody's here Thursday. So I like that there's no, I've never come to a class like, where the fuck is everybody at? It's never been like that here. And I've been here since last July, you know, and it's always like a good amount of people and it's always great training and great instruction. And, you know, that's the fact that for me, like now that I'm learning more and as a paid customer, I'm glad that I don't have to worry about cancel classes and like, oh, who the fuck's running this class? I don't know, like who's he doesn't even know what he's doing. Yeah. She doesn't know what she's doing. Like, and that's not a case here. And I like the fact that it is, man.
Cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah. But without that being said, man, thank you so much for your time, man. I really
appreciate it.
Yeah, man. That was fun, man. Make sure grind Underground Jiu-Jitsu, Facebook, Instagram, websites up there. You know, Mondays are great for open to come, even just come check it out. Like there's seating, guys, there's seating. Like you don't have to like stand up against the wall. You actually can sit in a chair or sit up on the side comfortably and watch people get their ass strangled. So I mean, it's like that. So make sure you guys go check us out. You know, I got the podcast rolling. If you guys don't know, I'm slowly getting away from just gaming stuff and content creators, but you know, I'm looping in content creators, but I'm fortunate that I'm reaching out to different people like Professor Justin here, who something that's completely out of my like area, but now that I'm doing jiu-jitsu more and I have the opportunity to talk to him and maybe spread some awareness and maybe some spark an interest of, you know, somebody training, because that's how it always is. Like, oh, somebody told me about it and I started going because so-and-so started, man.
Word of mouth is huge.
Yeah, man.
And what you're doing is great, dude. Like, you know, you set up your camera here during classes and you get some really good film and you make some good videos.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
You make some really good videos. I'm like, this is really nice.
And it's fun too. Like I've been telling people like, man, it's cool that, you know, that you're giving me the opportunity. And for you, it's like, whatever. But to me, it's a big deal because a lot of people don't like being recorded or like, oh, not at my gym. Like I'm not on. The fact that you were letting me was cool. I'm like, all right, cool. And then like, it lets me practice because I'm trying to get better at that. And I'm like, oh, and we could throw it up for the school. You know what I mean? Like, let's get some, you know, social media is such a big thing nowadays. And it's like a great way to get people interested in certain things. Like that's how the whole podcast, you have a podcast, you had so-and-so on. Yeah. I learned so much because of that person, or I learned because of this. And, you know, Justin said that. And then, you know what? I'm going to start doing this more. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's my whole purpose of this whole podcast is just learning from conversation and, you know, learning from people that you normally wouldn't hear from. And I've had people reach out to me like, hey, you had this person on and I didn't think about that. And that's that cool. Really just, it made me give you a different perspective. And I appreciate your time because like having somebody of your experience and to talk about jiu-jitsu is cool. You know what I mean? And a lot of people that know you from here, now they're going to have different conversations to have with you because of this, you know what I mean? So it's like a win-win, man. Perfect. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too.
Yeah, man. Spotify, guys, iTunes, fucking everywhere you can find fucking podcasts. Don't let the name think that it's just about gaming. Jimmy Duke's Gaming Podcast, JDG Podcast. But we're going to keep those episodes rolling, man. Until next time, peace out, homies. Y'all take care. Yeah. Good shit, man. Thank you. Yeah, that was fun, man.